Hello, we meet again. In this session, we are going to talk about data types, methods, and access specifiers. What is a data type? A data type is the values that you give as input or output to the user during the course of a program. It could be a number, it could be a decimal, or it just could be a set of words or characters. And data types can be divided into two types. They are constants and variables. A constant is a value that's fixed and cannot be changed during the runtime of a program. A variable is a value that can have different values during the course of running a program. Constants. Constants in Java are fixed values that cannot be changed by the user. For example, Java supports a literal numerical constant like the number that I have given inside the system.out.println, which has been printed as 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the same number that will be printed on the console, and this value cannot be changed. The same way, a string constant is a string literal that is placed inside the system.out.println method by typing my first Java in double quotes. So whatever you type in double quotes is a string literal that cannot be changed by the user during runtime. A named computer location in a memory that holds values that might vary is called a variable. When I declare a variable, it is stored in the memory at a particular address. So, according to what I said, should a location have an address? Yes. What has addresses? Is it bits, bytes, or words? It's of course the memory location or the RAM in a computer is divided into various addresses, and they are all divided into bytes. Therefore, bytes have addresses. Can a variable be more than 1 byte long? Naturally. They are of varying length, therefore it can be more than 1 byte long. Java variables. The Java variables that we are going to see today are local, instance, and static. A local variable is a variable that is given inside a method which cannot be used anywhere, and it cannot have a default value of 0, and there cannot be any access specifier. An instance variable or a class variable is directly written under a class which can be called anywhere within the class or outside the class. And when I don't initialize a value for a variable that I have declared, then 0 is its default value. A static variable means a variable that is within the class, and when I am using a static variable, I don't have to create an object. I just need to call the variable. That's it. So for an example, in this sample program, I have written class sample, and inside the class I have declared a variable a of the data type integer. This is an example of an instance variable or a class variable, because it comes directly under the class and it can be called anywhere within the class. Now I have introduced a method. I have declared a method, or initiated a method rather, under void return type of the name get, and I have passed a parameter of integer x. The integer x inside the braces is an example of a local variable wherein you cannot use this value anywhere in the class. I have then introduced a public static void main method, under which, if you see, I have just called the get method that I had initiated above, and I have passed the value 7 because 7 is an integer and integer x is a variable with the data type integer. Therefore 7 is the data that I can pass in. And if you see, I have not created an object for the get method. I have not written get is equal to new sample. No, I've just given it as get of 7, which means it's a static variable, because a static variable can be created without creating an object. Data type declarations. Some of the data types that are available in Java, you have int, short and long, and they all belong to the classification of integers of various lengths because their memory sizes differ. A float and double are decimal numbers of various lengths. A boolean is a true or false statement or a variable wherein it takes values of 1 or 0, but in Java it's always true or false. You have the char variable, which denotes a character from the English alphabet. The integer carries 4 bytes of memory space. A byte is just a 1 byte integer. A short has 2 bytes of memory space and a long has 8 bytes of memory space. So depending on the numbers that you're going to use, the range of numbers that you're going to use, you can declare your variables accordingly. A floating point variable is a decimal variable which has decimal values, and a float has 4 bytes of memory space, whereas a double has an 8 byte of memory space. Please note that integer and long integers are 4 bytes and 8 bytes. Similarly, the float and double also are 4 bytes and 8 bytes respectively, but float and double are decimal point numbers. The table that you see on the screen shows you the primitive data types, their size, and the values or the range of values that it takes. Just go through this and have an idea as to how these data types will work when you create a program. Methods. Methods or functions can have various types, and one is an instance. An instance of an object or a class is an object. Whenever I want to call an object, I'll have to create an instance, which means I have to say what memory space I need for my object. But on the other hand, a static or a class method can be written without creating an object. Access specifiers. This will be more understandable when I talk about inheritance, but let's get to know this in the first place. These are access specifiers that we'll be using quite often. One is the private, which means it's within the class. A protected keyword is used when it's used not only within the class but also its immediate subclass or the child class. The default is within a package, so naturally you don't have to invoke it. The public is anywhere that is outside the class or from a different package. So my dear friend, today we saw the data types, the methods and access specifiers that has been used in Java. We saw the different data types like integers and characters, string, floats, double. We saw the methods, the instance and the static methods. And we also saw the access specifiers, which are being used in inheritance like the private, public, default and protected. So till such time we meet again, it's bye for now. Thank you.